Okay, we are back. goRIA, and if you've been watching us for the past couple of days, you know that we've been doing this live from the convention floor here of the FPA National Conference in Phoenix, Arizona. And as I've been saying, one of the great pleasures of being able to do this at FPA National is the access to the talent and the guests that we've had over the past couple of days. And right now is no exception. We have with us Christian Nwasike, and he is the CEO of the African American Association of Financial Advisors. Thank you very much. And for those of you watching, we've already had 2 podcasts here. We've been discussing so much stuff. And so what I told Christian is we're going to have to say exactly what we've just said over the past 20 minutes because I'm telling you it was gold. So let's do our best to do that if we can.
Let's try that again. Yep.
But we just had so much to talk about.
So we started out with me asking you questions, and then that's how it took off.
Exactly. As it always is. But this has been great. But let's talk about the association first. For those folks in the audience that are not familiar with the association, let's start there. What is it all about? What are you guys trying to accomplish?
Sure. The Association of African American Financial Advisors is about a 24-year-old organization that was founded by the first Black or African American certified financial planner in the industry, LeCount Davis.
Oh, yeah. All right. I didn't realize he was involved with that. We didn't talk about that in the past 20 minutes.
We did not. And so he, after he passed the exam, found out that he was one, and has been on a campaign to increase awareness about the certified financial planning designation. But more importantly, Mr. Davis was one of the first fee-only Black or African American planners in the industry. And so traditionally, many I would say of my colleagues came in through the stock brokering, right, and then have with the evolution of the profession have kind of transitioned into an RIA firm, but he started out as an RIA fee only planning and has been an inspiration 25 years ago.
Early adopter, yeah.
Yes, when people would be like, "What are you talking about?" and charging a fee on AUM. So we've evolved over time, and so from one person it grew to 5 to 17 to a regional sort of DMV, District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia, Oregon regional organization, to where today we are a national organization, sea to shining sea. We've got just under 2,000 dues-paying members, another close to 6,000 members in our network. Our why for organization and existence is around the fact of economic empowerment, and our mission is to provide every Black or every African American family in the United States with a solid, comprehensive financial plan that they can use to chart their financial futures, because we believe every family is deserving of an opportunity. And many of the people who look like me have, through no fault of their own, been denied traditional access to these financial planning tools. And so today, the over 50,000 licensed Black or African American financial professionals in the industry are all geared towards this particular mission of championing financial planning in our community and helping our community prosper financially.
That's fantastic, and a super important mission that is. And as it relates to going RIA, right? We always look through that lens. What are you seeing in your community with regards to folks choosing the broker-dealer model versus the RIA model, and how does that mean for someone looking to start up a new business? What have you been finding?
So we were looking at some data and year-over-year data, and we see consistent growth in the RIA space. As a matter of fact, between 2020 and 2022, we saw a decline in the, I would say, broker-dealer route, and an increase in the, I would say, registered investment advisor space. And we attributed that to individuals letting go of their Series 7 and then just kind of continuing on with their Series 65, and then picking an advanced certification that allows them to interface and manage money on behalf of clients. For our organization, 30% of our members, our dues-paying members, are RIA or independent advisors, and so we create opportunities for them to develop professionally and grow their business. I came out of the, I would say, bank brokerage wirehouse space, dabbled in the independent space, insurance space for periods of time. But what I have come to realize and understand is that the RIA pathway for an early adopter could potentially be a little easier
Sure.
than the pathway that I came into the industry with, which was bank brokerage or wirehouse, just because it's one less license exam that you have to take, right?
Right.
But we think we've seen an increase in Hispanic, I would say, adoption of the RIA models. We've seen an increase in Asians. We've seen an increase in Black or African American communities, and we're excited about that because we believe that that model allows financial planning to go to the most, I would say, deserving communities that
Mhm.
traditionally will not hit asset minimums
Right.
with other models.
So let's talk about the asset minimums, right? So that's really conducive for a community that perhaps doesn't have $2 million to invest day one. So we were talking earlier about a subscription based model, which is RIA all day long, right? Is that what you're finding, like a lower barrier to entry, but also um, fee models that are perhaps more in line with what your community would want to see?
Absolutely, and that's what we're finding, right?
Yeah.
Because we're finding that we in our community we encounter Henrys, as we talked earlier.
Yes.
We and these people are deserving of these individuals are deserving, or families are deserving of financial advice, but just don't have the cash, to pay $5,000, $7,000, $10,000.
Right.
And so what many of our members do is provide what we call subscription-based financial planning, which is, Chad, I'll give you financial advice, and you just pay me a set dollar amount every month, and we get to meet and set up a plan, and I give you advice, and I would help implement the plan. And as things change in your life, we'll update the plan, and we'll kind of continue on. And what is great about that is that the SEC allows you to collect up to 6 months worth of
Right.
fee planning revenue up front. And so when we look at barriers to entry in terms of AUM flow, right,
Hmm.
we actually believe that we can get more advisors of color in seat, and we can deploy them back into their communities to go offer financial planning advice based on the subscription model, because you can walk your neighborhood and get your neighbors to sign up for financial planning advice
Right.
for the price of a steak dinner,
Yeah.
right? and
Absolutely.
and make it make sense. And what our organization has found out over time, as we surveyed households that have adopted the subscription based model, is they've seen their net worths increase about 10% year over year,
Mm.
right?
That's a great fact.
And so subscription based model supporting financial planning in the registered investment advisor space works.
Fantastic. And what are you doing also for these advisors to get them skilled up?
A few years ago, I started a firm called Practice Management Consultants, and we work to, I would say, skill up or help Black or African American financial advisors and planners become the best versions of themselves. And we donate our services or offer at a discount our services to the Association of African American Financial Advisors, focusing on subjective metrics that allow the advisor or planner um, hear the strategy,
Hmm.
um, identify with it, and then implement it in a way that helps them become successful. Because we know that if you're successful at what you do, you have a different vision of yourself, and you end up being a higher contributor to society. And I would say over the last few years, we've impacted, I'd say, a few hundred advisors between that are specifically Black or African American. And what we've seen with those data points, you can tell I love data.
Yes.
On average, a 25% year over year increase in revenue with an
Wow.
advisor that's gone through our training program. These programs are generally sprints. We fashion them for 12 weeks, and we focus on 3 or 4 core issues. But we believe that every client deserves to have 4 points of a relationship with a planner or an advisor: investment advice, right? Investment or asset management; banking
Hmm.
services, right? Which covers credit cards, mortgages, stuff like
Sure.
that; trust and estate planning services, as well as risk management insurance services. And that we believe that if a planner or an advisor is working with a client and focused on those 4 core, I would say, tenets of wealth management, they'll have more grace, more clients than they can say grace over.
Yeah.
And so we believe that we need to also increase the number of um, I'd say planners coming into the industry, into the IRA space, because when you focus on those 4 quadrants of wealth: per household. That is a lot of work.
For sure it is. And I love that you use so much real data in your analysis. Like you really quantify what's happening with your association and
Absolutely.
the benefit it's doing. And I love that. Let's go away from the data for just a moment. And
Sure.
let's tell me a story. Tell me a story, Christian. You're the one of the many success stories that you have, but picture someone that you've given some coaching to, and they went from not being an advisor to wow, they are now established. What kind of story like that can you share with us from your experience within the association, within your consulting work?
Um,
We don't have to use actual names necessarily, but just the story itself would be great.
there's a particular story that rings true to me. Um, um, yeah.
And I put you on the spot a little bit
I
too.
know
We don't
we're not going
necessarily.
to use names, so not using names.
Yeah.
So this particular wealth advisor was Asian,
Mhm.
for a fact, and was really kind of struggling with performance. And I had an opportunity to sit with him and really try to understand what his challenges were. And one of the crucial things in supporting advisors, from point A to point B, from going from good to great, is having a listening ear. Something I picked up in leadership when I was in corporate, but listening to this advisor, I got to hear his pain points. And what I was able what I asked him was, if I'm able to take out these roadblocks, would that give you the runway to take off and be great?
Hmm.
And he said, do you think you can do that? And I go, yes, I think I can. And so far, I would say about a period of about 12 weeks, we worked on his strategy, his business, and realigning his focus. And what was amazing was the year we started working together, he had started that year negative 31% in revenue growth year over year.
Hmm.
We ended that year at a positive 25%.
All right.
Right. And so I met him, I would say February, March. All right. And so we worked together just in the first quarter, but he had 3 quarters to implement. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But what was amazing was, you would say then he grew about 56%, starting the year out at negative 31 and
Sure.
ending the year at plus 25.
Yeah.
Right. And what did we do? We just took out the white noise, right?
Mhm.
Focus on what you love to do, right? Which is provide advice to families for a fee.
Right.
And once we can get advisors to focus on the core,
Mhm.
teach them how to communicate, have difficult conversations with clients, and leverage their natural markets to be great, we see tremendous growth. And that's the same thing that happened with this advisor in Virginia.
All right. That's got to be incredibly satisfying for you.
It is. I would tell you what keeps me up at night is that there's several hundred, perhaps thousands more of him or her, if you were, to duel that story out, right?
Right.
That need this type of support that are not getting it, and that's what keeps me up at night. And so we hope that we can expand services, coaching services, to support as many advisors in the industry as possible.
Mhm. That's fantastic. So let's end on this. I'd like to get your opinion. I mentioned earlier I had the opportunity to speak with Sonia Dreisler
Yes.
about DEI. So again, through the RIA lens, how are you seeing the RIA space impacting DEI? Right, net positive, net negative, or is it not doing anything? What do you think about that?
I believe, in my opinion, it's a net positive for several reasons. One, I think I would say barriers to entry are
Yeah.
a lot lower, and it does not mean that advice is lower at a lower
Right.
standard.
Right.
It just means it's one less licensing exam. However, to differentiate yourself from the pack, I always recommend getting an advanced designation to show, right, that your dedication to the profession, right? And so I think in terms of accessibility, yes, um, it is impacting diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging in the industry.
Mhm.
From an employment standpoint, I believe that there are opportunities to provide more jobs to people of color in the registered investment advisor space.
Mhm.
And so I see that as a positive for our community. We at our association have had these career fairs all year long, and we've had upwards of 150 kids on average show up and say, "Hey, I'd love to get into this profession because it's as noble as medicine or law
Yes.
or accounting." Right? We just didn't know about it. Now that we hear about it, we want to get involved. And I think, third, as a as an industry, the registered investment advisor um, impacts diversity from a perspective of because we can get more people in seats, and because we can provide more jobs in our community, perhaps we can actually touch more households with financial planning. And if we
Yeah.
touch each diverse household with financial planning, and we're able to change their economic perspectives, right, in a matter of a year or two, or even 5 years, what does that do for our country overall? I think you will see GDP increase.
Mhm.
We'll see more, happier families, more prosperous communities, and I think it will continue to solidify America's place as the economic superpower of the world, right? Not the East or the West, of the world, a spot that we have maintained for as long as I would say modern history records.
Yeah. A multiplier effect.
Exactly.
I think that's a crescendo right there. I think we end on that spot. That's a fantastic point to make. And Christian, thank you so much for joining us, talking about Quad A is another way that you go by?
Quad
Quad
A,
A?
yes.
Quad A, yeah.
Look
All
at
right.
you, Quad A.
Because I didn't want to remember it again. I was like, I knew it was a quad. Yeah, A,
Quad
obviously.
A, yep.
Really fantastic
Absolutely.
stuff. Thank you so much for joining
The
us.
pleasure is mine. Thanks for inviting me.
You bet. And on behalf of Investment News and goRIA, I'm Chuck Fela. Thank you for joining us throughout the past couple of days. We have one more to go, and it's going to be a good one. Stay tuned, and that's coming up in probably about 15 or 20 minutes. Thanks for joining us.